Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matthew Cook, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Sustainable Network. So a big welcome to everybody today to our webinar presentation, which is co-hosted by ourselves, Sustainable Network, alongside Triodos Bank, to showcase the incredible work of the award-winning sustainable baby brand Mama Bamboo. I think we anticipate today's run time will be around about 45 minutes, which will also include the opportunity for a Q&A with Laura and Jennie as well, which will be an opportunity for you to ask questions directly to the founding team, which will be led today by Jerry, who is a Senior Corporate Finance Manager at Triodos Bank. So before we get started today, just for those of you who are new to Sustainable Network, we are an ecosystem of purpose and values aligned thought leaders that are really committed to supporting the development of world-changing impact-focused startups. And what we really demonstrate through our work is the importance of collaboration, cooperation, and co-manifestation to ensure that the truly inspired founders of this earth, like you're about to meet today, who really dedicate their lives to creating a sustainable world for future generations, are able to access all of the resources and support they require to manifest their dreams into reality. And of course, one of those resources is access to capital, which is why we're here today. And we have been really enthused by the alignment that we share with Triodos Bank and their entire investment team, and are really excited by the opportunity we have today to co-promote Mama Bamboo together, who for us are a shining example of a triple bottom line focused business that are combining commercial success and profitability with really long lasting environmental and societal impact, reflected by their status as one of the top 5% of B Corps in the world. So it's an absolute pleasure to hand you over now to Di at Triodos, who will explain a little bit about their involvement within this particular transaction, and will then lead the webinar and Q&A today. So thank you very much everyone for attending, and Di, over to you.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As Matt said, my name is Di and I'm a manager in the corporate finance team at Triodos, and we're delighted to be co-hosting the webinar along with Sustainable Network and Mama Bamboo. So just a tiny bit of background on Triodos, just for anybody that isn't familiar. We're a sustainable bank. We were set up to make money work for positive change. Triodos was established in the Netherlands in 1980. And today has branches in Spain, Belgium and Germany, as well as the UK. The UK branch was set up in 1995, and now in the UK we have a loan book of over 1 billion and around 90,000 customers. So I work in the corporate finance team at Triodos, and what we do is basically predominantly raise finance for organisations which deliver positive impact. We do this through our crowdfunding platform, and we have around 11,000 investors signed up to the platform to hear about our investment offers. We've been doing this crowdfunding work for about 15 years now, and in that time we've raised over 180 million for 50 different organisations which are impact driven. So we first worked with Mama Bamboo in 2021, and we raised £600,000 of equity through our crowdfunding platform at that time. That money has now been invested into the company and the growth, and we're delighted to be doing a second round of equity for the company, a further £600,000 to support the continued growth of the company. So we have Laura and Jennie. We're delighted to have Laura and Jennie here from the management team from Mama Bamboo, and they'll introduce themselves in a moment. We'll be having a bit of Q&A with them, probably for around 10-15 minutes. And then after that, there'll be plenty of time for you to ask questions. So as we go, please do just pop your questions in the chat, and we will hopefully be able to come to answer all of those. So Laura and Jennie, could you briefly introduce yourselves, please, and tell us a bit about the mission of Mama Bamboo and why you started the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Laura Crawford. I'm the founder and CEO of Mama Bamboo. And I am Jennie Potts, and I am the COO of Mama Bamboo. Okay. And basically, I started Mama Bamboo 5 years ago because I couldn't at the time find a product that really worked for me on all levels in terms of being best for my baby, actually working as a natural nappy that didn't cause nappy rash, something that would be good on for what I was looking for, which was a really high quality, high performance nappy that was also convenient to use, and that was sustainable. Something that would be greener for the environment, something that would be better in terms of its sourcing and its end of life. And I wanted everything. I wanted something that was good for babies, good for me, and good for the planet Earth. And I couldn't find anything that was just perfect. So I came up with something through a long series of testing of materials and design. And we launched 5 years ago. And really the mission of Mama Bamboo is to support parents like myself who are looking for a greener, more environmentally friendly lifestyle, but who really do want the convenience and the performance that we are used to as modern parents. And we're looking really to support those parents and offer them a more sustainable option.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, ladies. That's great. And could you tell us a bit what is the problem with conventional disposable nappies?
So, as Laura was saying, the conventional disposable nappies are wonderful for parents today, but there is a downside to them. 8 million nappies and 11 million wet wipes are used every single day in the UK, and every single one of those goes into landfill. And the vast majority of those nappies are made of plastic. The biggest problem is they don't feel like plastic. They feel soft, and people aren't aware that those are going into landfill and sitting there for the best part of 500 years. In fact, my least favourite statistic is disposable nappies were invented in the 1960s, and that the first ever disposable nappy is still sitting on the planet today in landfill somewhere in the world. So that's a huge issue. They're all made out of virgin plastic. The environmental issue aside, plastic is not a natural material, it's not breathable. And so with the use of disposable nappies, you can actually see a graph of the greater occurrence of nappy rash. As adults, we don't wear plastic underwear, and if we wear clothes high in polyester, they make us uncomfortable, they make us sweaty. It's exactly the same with nappies. Nappies made of a natural substance allow baby skin to breathe, reduce nappy rash, and all the added benefits, as well as them being more environmentally sustainable.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jenny. That's great. And so going on to your nappies, can you tell us what makes the Mama Bamboo nappies truly environmentally friendly, and how, in what way they're different to the other eco brands that we see out there?
So yeah, our USP really is the bamboo. So we use FSC certified bamboo, and currently bamboo is the only substance on earth that is growing that can keep up with human consumption. So it's so fast growing, it's so sustainable, it's not thirsty, it's a great product to use. We also use compostable liners and compostable packaging. Our covers are 100% plant-based, they're not enhanced, which you will sometimes see with eco nappies. And again, eco nappies is a really loose term. It's not really, well, they're trying very much to regulate that through the Green Claims Code. But at the moment, with some eco nappies, they will be made in a carbon neutral factory, but they are still traditional disposables in the percentage of virgin plastic that they use in the same way, or they'll use cotton enhanced, so they've got 15% cotton in. Ours, we have always been transparent from day one in Mama Bamboo. As I said, we use 100% plant-based covers, compostable liners, and we're very transparent. Everything has always been printed on our packaging. All of our ingredients are very, very clear. We publish it all on our website, even before the Green Claims Code came into effect. As you touched on and Matthew touched on, we are B Corp certified, and we've been certified as the best in the world for the last 2 years running. So we do like to class ourselves as a real eco nappy, but it's a very muddy world that is confusing for lots of people at the moment. And we are very much hoping that as the Green Claims Code comes into force in effect, that will sort of solve some of the problem that we do see and feel happens with greenwashing at the moment.
And I think that's really where I got so frustrated and ended up starting Mama Bamboo, was because I tried different eco versions with my son, who really struggled with plastic nappies. He got really bad nappy rash, and I really wanted to be more sustainable. And I tried the eco versions that were on the shelf at the time, and I found that he was still getting nappy rash with those that had a lower plant percentage in them, and then I would find that some of them just didn't perform as well because they'd made different choices in terms of their design, and it was really kind of the spur that created Mama Bamboo, was this idea that I wanted a genuine eco product that also performed how I wanted it to perform. And the same with our wipes. There were quite a few brands, and there certainly are now, of compostable and biodegradable wipes available. But not all of them go all the way. They will often not have the right ingredients in them when you get into the nitty-gritty of the formula, and can cause irritation, or they're hormone disruptors in some cases, things that you don't really want in a natural wipe for your child. And one thing I did find was a lot of the biodegradable wipes are made with a kind of paper pulp, and it makes them quite weak, so they didn't perform in the way I wanted them to perform. I still wanted a really strong but fully compostable wipe. So that's really where Mama Bamboo differs, in that we do balance out whether it's best for the baby, best for ourselves in terms of performance, or best for Mama Earth, whether it is truly eco, and whether we can claim that on everything. And yeah, that's kind of our raison d'etre.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you, ladies. And yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a minefield with the various kind of like eco brands, as a mum myself, that are out there on the market. And I think your B Corp certification and your kind of transparency around your products kind of really helps you to stand out from those. So thank you. So we worked together in 2021 and we raised £600,000 of equity at the time, which we were delighted to do. Can you tell us a bit about how that money has been invested and how the business has performed since then, please?
Yes, so when we got the money in, and we were delighted too, Diane, we really invested quite a lot of it in our IT. So we base our entire shop on Shopify with a recharge app plugged in to work our subscription business. And I will hold my hands up and admit that I am not an IT developer, and had developed the original shop and plugged all the apps in and made the integrations work, etc. But it wasn't slick, it wasn't really smooth, and it was definitely hampering conversion rate. So I had to be very humble and admit my problems and actually get some experts in. So we have improved the website, and there are further improvements rolling out in the next month or two to just make that user journey so much smoother, to improve the click rate, to improve the conversion. We have already improved the conversion from about 1.8% up to nearly 3%, so it's made quite a significant chunk, and we're really hoping the next stages of conversion optimization really kind of roll out and work for us in the next month or two. So yeah, there was a fair bit of investment in the IT and getting it working. We've also invested in an app, so once we do have a subscriber, they can download the app and then manage their subscription through an app, and that should be rolling out in the next, well, probably the next month, and that really will help us to improve a customer's journey beyond that first subscription order and hold on to them for longer. It will help us to do cross-selling and upselling of various products. So if you're buying nappies, buy wipes as well. We're about to roll out muslins as well, so that's a nice crossover. So we're hoping that kind of the app will help us with that, and just improve people's kind of feeling of being part of a community once they're signed up. What we have found is our subscribers, they stay with us for a long time. So once they've tried the product, they do like it, they subscribe. Our average subscriber stays with us for around 28 orders. And if you think of that on a monthly basis, it means they're staying with us basically until their child is potty trained. They are actually really brand loyal. So anything we can really do to like make their experience better, make sure that they're telling another mum about our product, another dad about our product. We get a lot of our business through referral. So we really we want to nurture that community more. So that's sort of on the IT side. We've also invested a fair bit in our marketing and our branding. So if you're on the website having a quick look, you'll see there is new branding and new packaging alongside some of our old packaging that we're still kind of selling through. But we've made our branding much more identifiable, much more easily recognizable, much more shelf ready. As I say, and I think Jenny mentioned, we'd already printed ingredients on and been really careful about our language for green claims code, but we've gone to the nth degree to make it perfect. So yes, it's ready to go on shelf. And yes, it's beautiful now. It looks so much nicer than the original set, which again, I designed myself, and I'm not a graphic designer. So it's not surprising that we've managed to make that look just a little bit shinier and more professional. We've also been focusing a lot on marketing, and we have actually hired ourselves a marketing manager, which we hadn't had for the first 3 years. We had managed to do it, you know, as you do, with one person doing all the roles. And yeah, again, I don't know anything about Facebook marketing and social ads and paid ads and all the rest of it. I was winging it for 3 years and it was working, but we're now getting somebody professional in that space, and that's improving actually our holistic strategy around marketing, which is really good. And we did spend some time and money, some investment on our fulfillment operations here in the UK. So we've transitioned from our own kind of warehouse actually to a professional setup, 3PL. And in doing so, we've reduced our onshore costs by about 30%, just by taking advantage of some of those economies of scale. And some of the courier rates, etc., that the bigger companies could get hold of. So actually, we have made a big difference to our gross profit margin here in the UK for all of its processing, from the point that it lands in our warehouse till it actually is delivered at your door.
And as Laura said, we have also been extending our range. So we extended our range. We did a size 5 nappy pants and a size 6, but we introduced a size 4, and we're about to introduce a size 7 again, so elongating that customer journey. And we're also looking at bed mats again for when children get older and might not be dry through the night. And one thing that we're very excited about is in fact, they're loading. We've just preemie nappies, so size 0. So we are one of the only true eco brands to be doing that size 0 nappy, and we are actually partnering with a charity called Ickle Pickles, where we will be donating nappies to a couple of hospitals to their SCBU or NICU units, so parents can use them, and also another little scheme where our customers can then pay that forward and donate to another parent. So we're really pleased. It'll be great for the babies and great for the parents, and also reaching, you know, a wider audience of having those tiny nappies when baby skin is so sensitive, and that the mum parents can know where they can get them, and yeah, just widening our range even further.
Brilliant. Just a few things there then. You've had a pretty busy couple of years.
We like to keep busy.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. That's great. So we're obviously in a very challenging trading environment at the moment. How has Mama Bamboo been affected by this, and have you had to kind of make any changes to your strategy?
Yes, it's been a bonkers couple of years, let alone COVID personally. But so COVID bizarrely was positive for us, because at a time when everyone was struggling to get product or get toilet roll or nappies in the supermarket, we had lots of stock, and so we saw almost a 300% increase, which was slightly bananas. But then the upshot of that was then the international freighting crisis, where freight costs went up, you know, almost 1,000%, and I was analysing it earlier this week, and that continued for the best part of 2 years. So that had a huge impact on us. Our freighting costs, as I said, went up 1,000%, and it was, you know, unheard of. No one, I think, in all of trading history could have gone, oh, well, this is definitely going to happen. So we had to react quite quickly. We're a small company, there are only a few of us, so we are very blessed to be able to react quite quickly. So we reduced the marketing. We only brought in what we had to bring in, so to reduce as those shipments and only bring in generally what we needed to service our current customers and keep up with a limited amount of growth. We pulled back on marketing, and we just made sure that we were, you know, as much as we could, keeping our head above water, servicing, of course, our subscription customers and those customers who rely on us, making sure that we were still getting out there, but not quite the push that we've been doing before. Thankfully, we've seen the benefit of that. Freight rates have come right back down to pre-COVID levels sooner than we actually had expected. So now we're back up to full speed, honing our demographic, making sure that we're hitting the groups that we want to hit, you know, people who are interested in sustainable living, you know, soft nappies and doing what's best for their baby. So we're just back up to speed, really doing the shows. I think one of the benefits is that we're a necessity. Nappies are a necessity. You can't really do without them. And so although we are seeing the impact of cost of living, I would say it's probably not as pronounced as it could be in a sort of more
luxury.
Yes, a luxury good. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think, as I said before, like once somebody is brand loyal to a nappy range, particularly if it's good for their baby's skin, they tend to stick with it. You don't tend to backtrack. And with our subscription, our nappies are priced slightly lower than the leading brand's premium nappy. So it's not a huge stretch to choose these nappies and stick with a subscription versus some of the other leading brands on the shelf. So again, I don't think the cost of living hits quite as hard as maybe some sort of luxury one-off type goods.
No, and I must say, from a customer point of view, the feedback we tend to see is if someone's misjudged their subscription rates or something's happened or they've found themselves caught unaware and they've bought another brand, what we tend to see is, I'm never doing that again. So the quality and performance of the nappies genuinely speak for themselves, and people come back to us time and time again saying they've tried something else and it didn't work, it leaked, or their baby had horrible nappy rash, and they would never now consider anything else. It is lovely feedback.
And as a customer, I can second that. Brilliant, thank you, ladies. I'm just going to say I've got a couple more questions, so if anyone wants to start popping questions in the chat now, please do, and in the meantime we will carry on. So could you tell us why you're seeking further investment and what it is that you intend to do with that investment, please?
So we're now at a stage that we've got this shelf-ready product all wrapped up. The branding is done beautifully, the technology's there, and we really want to expand our audience and our reach. So we really need some investment in order to expand our brand awareness campaigns. As Jenny said, last year during the freighting crisis, we did actually pull out of a lot of the baby shows, which means there is a whole host of new parents that we haven't really got to in the face-to-face way, that we've only been able to reach out to on social media. So we really want to reinvest in our kind of face-to-face marketing and our brand awareness and our reach. We want to do some sponsorship things with some of the like mum and parent clubs so that we can kind of expand on that referral and affiliate marketing. So we want to do that. We also are looking at launching into the EU. It was an area that I'll say tinkered with when we first got started, and we were using Amazon's FBA program, and we found actually some really good traction in Germany, in Italy, in some of the Nordic region, and then of course the gift that just kept giving, Brexit, came along, and it was just too complicated for us for a while. But we're now ready to go back out into the EU, and we know there's a good market there. We do get inquiries regularly from various retailers, distributors, wholesalers. Would we consider selling into the EU? We've already started the discussions with one of the biggest EU distributors of green and friendly products that have their own distribution network, that have their own retail site. So hopefully once this is all up and running and we've finished this round of EIS investment, we will be able to pull the trigger on that one quite quickly and actually launch. And we are aiming to launch into the Nordics and Germany initially, and then hopefully back into Italy as well, and then obviously further afield, which would be brilliant. We're aware obviously that will also come with a fair bit of marketing requirement. to get our name up and known elsewhere. And we are also investing in our UK B2B sales. So we have, again, slightly tinkered with doing B2B properly. And now we really want to tackle that market. We've got 3 wholesalers very interested in taking on the product, and 1 retailer that we are in good discussions with about getting ourselves up and listed with them as well. And that would be brilliant for us, actually, because what we find is, like we say, actually getting a parent to step outside their comfort zone and try a new product on their baby is quite a hurdle. But once they do, they subscribe and they stick with us, which is brilliant. So actually making it easier to find our product in different retail outlets, hopefully will really spur that kind of that growth for us, because we genuinely believe they'll try them, and then they'll come to us. Awesome. So yeah, that's quite a big bit that we're looking at, is the sales side of things.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. And final question from me before we go to some of the Q&A, which is a bit of a follow-on question, I suppose, from the previous one, is what other kind of ambitions and plans do you have for Mama Bamboo in the future?
So there's my pet project. I'm very aware that we have created a product that is 80% compostable, and wet wipes that are 100% compostable, and packaging that's compostable, which is all well and good, but not if you can't compost them. So my pet project is to actually work with the University College London and establish a circular model for nappies and wipes. We've seen it work elsewhere. We know that the technology exists and it's feasible. It's available in sort of 6 or 7 countries other than the UK. But the idea would be that we could have our products at the end of their life collected curbside, brought to an industrial compost unit, composted correctly, and then be able to return the nutrients and the value to the soil in an approved and certified compost. And it's something I've been working on in the background. Jenny's grinning. I spend far too much time doing it, but it's something I've been working on for quite a long time. And yeah, we know we've got the right technology. We know we can do it. It's just a case really of proving it to DEFRA, to the UK government, and getting policies changed in order that we can move ahead with it. And that, for me, that is the big kind of mission and dream. It's wonderful to have a product that is sustainably sourced and made and sold, but I really want to make sure it's sustainable at the end of its life as well.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. Yeah, and again, I would second that as a customer and user of your nappies. It would be great to have that fully kind of circular model.
I think the frustrating thing, Diana, is that so many people would do that, and we would do it. We could find a way to do it. It's just there is a lot of red tape, and it's so infuriating. But we chip away. We keep chipping away.
We keep going, and we're getting a wider and wider group of companies and businesses and even brands. So I've been talking to a couple of our competitors, seeing if we can actually join forces and you know, approach the governments together, because actually this is something that's good for all of us. And you know, as businesses and as human beings. So I really think we're getting there, and it's very positive to see more and more examples getting up and running elsewhere in the world. So we've got Canada, the US, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, France, like they're doing it these days. Whereas I think 5 years ago when I started on this little mission, there was only Canada. So like the tide is turning. We just got to keep on chipping.
Yeah, brilliant, well done. Great. Okay, well, that's all the questions from me, and we've got quite a few questions coming up in the Q&A, which is great. So I will just work through those if that's okay. So great client engagement for 28 months, well done. What steps are you taking to look for international expansion? Obviously you did touch on this a little bit when we talked about what you were using some of this investment round for, but maybe you could just talk a bit more to that?
So as I say, I've been in discussions with one of the bigger distributors for the EU to actually get an agreement up in place and get our products into those Nordic and German countries. As I say, we've brought on a sales agent now who's also looking, although his focus is very much on the UK initially, he will actually be looking elsewhere. We do get quite a lot of interest from the Middle East. And it's not an area that I've done business with before or know that much about. So I'm glad we've got Aaron in with us because he's got a lot more experience of this. So it's an area that I so far have kind of been putting off a little bit. And I'm glad to know that we've now got somebody actually on board who knows what they're doing, and we may actually be able to take up some of those inbound inquiries that have been coming to us of late, and particularly the Middle East.
Yeah, brilliant. Great, thank you. Okay, next question. I like seeing the extension of the product to include other baby related products. Has your research shown that this will grow beyond the nappies as a core percent? What will wipes and other products lead to in sales in the next couple of years, I suppose, relative to your nappy sales?
Yeah, so no guarantees, but I would expect particularly wipes to take off quite strongly. There's a lot more public awareness of wipes in the last couple of years, and certainly the government has once again issued its statement that it will be moving to ban plastic in wipes within the next year or two. It was very interesting to find that Boots and Tesco actually stepped ahead of legislation and said that they would be removing all plastic wipes from their shelves by the end of this year, which is brilliant. That they're actually pushing that agenda and not waiting to be told to do it. I suspect that will now trickle down to lots of the other retailers. So I think the wipes could take quite a big centre stage. I think the bed pad range, it extends our lifetime journey. I can't see it becoming a major product for us, but it's an extra stage as we move forward. As I said, we are making muslins at the moment. I've had a lot of fun playing and designing things with my beautiful little ping character and bamboo leaves recently. I do like doing that. Again, I think there'll be a nice add-on for people, a nice cross-sell, but I suspect people will continue to come to us primarily for the nappies and nappy pants, then the wipes, and then maybe some of the add-on products that we're looking at.
Yes, and I think with the muslins as well, because nappies are quite difficult to, because as Laura was saying, so many, there's nothing like a referral from another parent when you're sitting there and someone goes, oh, those nappies, that what, I've not seen those nappies, where are they from? And then to say, oh, Mama Bamboo. Our muslins very much have our new character ping on, and we're looking at as a very much a marketing tool. We've gone for bigger muslins, and people go, oh my goodness, where's that from? But it's much more of a visual cue to people in classes or when they're out and about, for them to stop having that conversation, rather than if you're not changing an nappy, you wouldn't necessarily see it, or you wouldn't see a packet of wipes. So it's how we augmenting our reach.
No, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Okay, next question. So this is about the source of your bamboo. How closely do you work with the supply source? Where does your bamboo come from? And do you have mechanisms to ensure sustainable practices at the source of agriculture? Some of these strategies could include working out ways to increase the farmer's income through carbon insetting, as used by companies like Nestle to negate the embedded cost of carbon for their products, and ensuring positive social impacts.
Nice long question.
Yes, quite a long question.
Right, so we work very closely with our suppliers, and I'm pleased to say, actually, we've just passed our FSC audit last Friday. Again, this year, we do them annually. We work very closely with them to ensure that all of the bamboo that we use, all of the wood pulp we use, all of the tissue, etc., is FSC approved, which means it's coming from sustainable, well-managed agriculture and farming practices. So that's number one. We also work with BSI, the British Standards Institute, and make sure that all of our suppliers have SMETA audit, and that obviously covers, in addition to the environmental side of things, the more social side of things, fair wage policies, holidays, disciplinary processes within the factories, health and safety, etc. So we make sure that, yes, our supply source is above board in all aspects. And in terms of carbon type stuff, we actually don't work with the raw supply of the bamboo or the wood pulp into their factories in terms of carbon. But what we do is we calculate all of our carbon footprint from the point of our manufacture, our freighting, our distribution, our business operations here in the UK. Anything that we can't remove or improve upon, we actually practice a carbon offsetting program with the Ugandan bamboo village. So rather than planting bamboo up in China, which is obviously where we get the original bamboo from, we found a charity that's working out of Uganda, where they're establishing bamboo on areas that have previously suffered from deforestation and soil erosion. It establishes bamboo, which is good for the environment, but it also really helps to improve the community standing, because they can then harvest the wood of the woody product of that bamboo and sell that on in parts of manufacture and supply. So that's kind of where we sit with the carbon side of things.
Brilliant, that's great, thank you. Okay, next question. Where do you see yourselves 5 years from now? From an investment perspective, what kind of exit strategy are you looking at, and what kind of return on investment are you expecting based on your sales growth? So I mean, perhaps like the return on investment I can perhaps touch on after you guys have touched on the first bit. So where do you see yourselves 5 years from now, and what kind of exit strategy are you looking at?
So we are looking at a potential exit in 3 to 5 years' time. I believe what we're really looking at is selling the business to somebody that's looking to expand their green portfolio of businesses and brands underneath their umbrella. Someone that would either let us stay on to ensure that the management and the mission and the values do not change, or some guarantee to make sure that it's, you know, they take on our brand. I don't want to see it altered significantly. We have had conversations with a couple of different sort of umbrella companies, and we'll continue those over the next year or so, but we would be looking for a sale out within the sort of 3 to 5 year time frame.
Great, okay, thank you. And just to answer in terms of return, I mean, in the offer document, we've included financial projections in terms of where you hope to get to in terms of revenue and profitability, but we don't specify kind of figures in terms of you know, levels of dividend or kind of capital return on exit, because you know, it's obviously very difficult to kind of forecast that with any accuracy. But what we have kind of said in the offer document is that we generally work towards an internal rate of return, so an IRR of 30% for investors that are taking advantage of the EIS tax relief, so including the tax relief that you get on your investment and then your capital that you would get on exit. So that's the general kind of target return.
They will exceed it and exceed all expectations.
That's the hope. Brilliant. So next question, why do you think users care about your products, i.e. your value proposition?
So I think people care about our products on really on 2 and 3 levels. I think there is the growing awareness of sustainability. Sort of when I had my first child, which is, oh golly, she's getting old now.
Don't think about it.
10 years ago. There really wasn't much awareness of what was in nappies, what was in wipes, what happened to your nappies afterwards.
Well, there wasn't much choice. There were, if you either, I think, had traditional disposables, or on my first child's even older than Laura's, and you had reusables. And I think even at that point, that was the first introduction really of supermarket own brands. You moved away from the 2 main brands. So as you're saying, I think it's more awareness and more.
I think there's a lot more growing awareness. By the time I had my second child, there was more awareness. And what we found when we've gone to baby shows, even over the course of the 5 years, first year people came to us and kind of said, what is it you do? What, I haven't even thought about my nappies type thing. And then over the last couple of years, people have walked straight up to our stand and gone, right, I've done the research and I've got 3 questions for you. Dum, dum, dum. You know, oh, okay, all right. Because they are just that much more switched on. So they're looking for a sustainable product. So I think that's M1. I think there is a lot more understanding as well about how delicate baby skin is, what's good for skin, what's not good for skin. People are starting to understand what chemicals go into your wet wipes has a direct impact on a baby's skin health. And yes, there's a definite growing movement for more organic, more natural, more plant-based, and really trying to avoid plastics and synthetics and chemicals for their babies. And I think there is the performance element. Like, if you think back to when first reusables were used, terry cloth, you know, my mum used terry cloth all those years back. The majority of families had one parent, usually mum, staying at home, and able to do the washing and the laundering and all the rest of it. When disposables first really came on the market in the 80s, they were actually too expensive for most families, but those that went for them loved them for the performance, for the convenience, for the fact that they could be left on overnight, for the fact that they didn't have to do all this laundering. You didn't have to have a wet bag in your handbag when you went out and about. So I think there is a real element of that proposition for most parents who are fairly busy, who work. You know, most mums these days are back at work within 6 months. They're looking for the performance and the convenience that they've got used to over the last 40 years, but they don't want the environmental problem that's obviously come about through the plastics.
Yeah.
And I also think people want to feel good about what they're spending their money on. They want to feel good about the quality of the product. They want to feel good about the sustainability and the eco credentials of the product, but also they want to trust the people they're buying the product from. And I think we're seeing more and more the generations coming through are very discerning, and there is so much information out there that you can find in comparison to, again, when I had my son. And so they want to know more about the people they're buying from. They want to know more about the company they're buying from. They want to know they can trust them. They want to know they're being honest. They want to know they're being transparent. And I think that works.
And I think that's where our B Corp certification and awards really comes in, because there's a lot more understanding about what B Corp means, that it's not just another eco label. It is actually one of the most diligent, holistic labels and certification bodies that you can attempt to go through as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I'm just aware of time. I think we've just got another minute, so perhaps we'll just take one more question. So how can you really scale this product? What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so there are in the UK about 1.8 million babies using nappies and nappy pants at any one time. There's about 6 times that across the EU, and there are around 8 times that in the US. I'm afraid I don't know the stats actually for the Middle East off the top of my head, apologies. But that's an awful lot of babies wearing nappies and using wipes. And I will also admit, wipes continue for a long time. As I said, my daughter's 10, we still use wipes in our house because she's messy. So the audience is huge for this product. And of course, you get through a lot. So the average baby uses 6,000 nappies by the time they're potty trained, and around 20,000 wet wipes. So it's a huge market. It's a huge volume of goods. And as I say, I think with the growing awareness of environment and organic, that the small portion that have been previously interested in buying a premium green product is growing. It's getting bigger by the year. And as the younger generation, I'm old these days, coming in behind us, people are having their babies in their early to mid 20s. They are a much more switched on, sustainable generation than mine was, or the older generation ahead of us. So I think that there's certainly the market audience there. And because of the way we are set up, we've got an outsourced manufacturer in China. We have a 3PL here in the UK. We're looking into 3PL, as I say, across Europe. It's all done on a Shopify platform and the likes of sort of Amazon and Big Green Smile platforms, an ethical superstore. There's no real limit to the scale that we can actually target. Yeah, so the sky's the limit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. That's really exciting. Okay, well, I think that's time. So thank you, ladies. That's been really, really interesting and helpful. Hopefully helpful to everybody as well. And I'm going to hand back to Matt to wrap things up.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone, very much indeed. So we are about to launch, everybody, a very quick poll. So you can actually register your interest now in Mama Bamboo. It will also allow us to understand where we can service your needs most effectively. So if you can take the time to answer these, we'd be very grateful. And of course, founders like Jennie and Laura and these amazing world-changing businesses really depend on the support from investors just like yourself. So thank you. What we will also be doing, everybody, as well, is actually sending out an email, a completion of this webinar that will have we will allow you to access today's recording. It will also contain another copy of the offer document itself, and both myself and Di are available to answer any questions that you have. So please feel free to reply to the email directly as well, and let us know how we can support you in making your investment decision as well. And whilst we're just finishing off the poll, a big thank you as well to Jennie and Laura for your time today. I mean, your energy, your drive, your enthusiasm, it really shines through for this presentation. It really is the reason why we get out of bed every day to support founders like yourself. And a big thank you for all of the work you've done already. Congratulations on all of your success. And we really look forward to watching you thrive and working alongside you in the future. Which also accompanies a very big thank you as well to Di for hosting today's webinar as well and taking the time out, and again for everything that Triodos Bank are also doing to support these amazing founders that really are going to make the world a better place for future generations. So big thank you to everybody for attending as well. Do keep an eye on your inbox for the follow-up email, and yeah, I think we'll draw things to a close here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.